Joining me now is Lee Gelernt. He's the deputy director of the Immigrants' Right Project at the ACLU. So, Lee, from your perspective, what do you believe is driving this drop in crossings, and do you think it'll hold?
You know, it's hard to predict. I think everyone who was speculating, people should stop speculating. Ultimately, people move from their countries because of danger. That's what's the driving force. People don't want to leave their home countries, certainly not with little children. So if they leave, they're in real danger. But I think we need to stop looking at how many people we've deterred from coming to the border. That's not the way to judge an asylum system. If people are in real danger, we can't be sending a signal to them, don't come, don't escape danger. The United States will no longer be a refuge for you. The Biden administration ended Title 42. We welcome that, obviously. But it's unfortunate that they've just replaced Title 42 with yet another Trump asylum ban. I know that the Biden administration is trying very hard to say this is not another Trump asylum ban. But the truth is, while there are some additional legal pathways, they are very, very limited. We have to create an efficient asylum system, but a fair one.
All right, and let's talk a little bit about that asylum system right now that you and your group, the ACLU, is suing the Biden administration over, because there are new requirements that make migrants book an appointment before reaching a point of entry. The primary way to do that is through an app called CBP One, but there are reports that the app is overwhelmed with glitches and there's just simply not enough spots available. Is there a better solution to try and fix this problem?
Well, ultimately, they should try and fix the app to make it better, but it cannot be a substitute for regular asylum. It can just be a supplement. People who are in real danger need to be able to get to the border any way they can. They can't wait for weeks and weeks to try and get an appointment, to get one of the limited slots. They have to be able to get to the border and apply for asylum. I think you started by saying this is a humanitarian crisis. That's absolutely right. These families who are fleeing danger are not the ones bringing fentanyl. They are not national security threats. They are in danger. The United States said after World War II we would never send people back to danger without a screening, and yet here we are. And this is part and parcel of a larger problem that's happened over the years. We had family separation. Now President Trump says if he's elected, he'll bring it back. I can tell you, as the lead counsel in the family separation lawsuit, we are still trying to get up to 1,000 families reunited. 5 years later, little children are still not with their parents. We have to have a humane system. We have to make it more efficient, but it has to be humane. We can't judge our asylum system by how many people who are in danger we deter from even coming to the United States.
Let's talk more about that point you made about the former president and what he said in his town hall last week about not ruling out bringing back family separation. You were the lead counsel in that case. I think you mentioned that ended the policy. 5 years out, though, there are still hundreds of children that are still not reunited with their parents. We have some of the stats here. At least 3,900 children removed from their families between 2017 and 2021. Almost 3,000 reunited as of March. What is your take about how to fix this issue, that even though the policy may have changed, the remnants of this policy are still, there are still serious impacts as a result?
You're exactly right. And the remnants are twofold. One is there are hundreds and hundreds, maybe up to 1,000 children who are still not with their parents. And remember, some of these children were just babies and toddlers when they were taken away. The second problem is that even when they're reunited, the trauma is still lasting. I mean, we have children who just stare out the window looking if men are going to come and take them away again, or ask their parents, when I go to sleep at night, are men going to come and take me out of my bed and take me away again? So we are working with the Biden administration to try and get these families reunited. We all need to do everything possible to push for a quicker reunification, to make sure that there's holistic relief for these families, including monetary restitution for what we now know was a deliberate policy intended to be cruel. The Biden administration said that they were going to fix this, that this was criminal, that this was a moral stain on the country, and I think the public needs to know that it's still not fixed and to push the Biden administration in that direction.
And the former president seemed to double down on that policy in the town hall earlier this week. Well, Lee, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being here.